All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back here this Wednesday, May 5th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check for all of us on social media first, but for all of us in the trading room, I believe now we are good to go. Carol, Ron, Lynette, Jeff, Grant, all giving me the sound check just earlier. I had a small issue. Good to go now, though. Ken says, Cinco de Mayo, indeed. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone that celebrates. I'll probably celebrate a little bit later on today. I'm sure it's 4 o'clock somewhere, though, right? So with that in mind, we have this PRPO pushing up nicely at this point heading into the afternoon. It's like another day where we're following this trade. 2 days ago to start the week off on Monday, we saw a nice, beautiful run up. So a big squeeze up Tuesday morning, but then it dumped back down, closed at the lows, like got crushed going into the after hours yesterday. And then here we are today. Ended up making a big move up. I mean, this was a little bit later on heading into this meeting. Ended up making a very sudden pop from like $4.15, essentially off the lows. Squeezed up beautifully. I mean, right now at the highs. So one thing I wanted to comment on quickly, because the chart's pretty straightforward. There was a pretty big iceberg order just a moment ago. I don't have my level 4 open, my book map that is, for this trade. I wasn't focused on it at all up until right now. So I just haven't had the chance to pop it up on my book map just yet. Let me do that here. And as I comment on what's on the order book, at least so far, you could happen to see at least 29, 30,000 shares on the ask at 550. There's going to be a hell of a lot more that gets filled if that price level gets tested there. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm loading up my level 4 as we speak. Shows about 34,000 shares. Watch what happens here. We'll see if this happens live in front of us. The stock's listed through the NASDAQ. Yep, look at that. The order got filled. Looks like it wasn't probably a whole lot more than what actually was shown, but you could see off the initial breakout that is of that price, it's not all squeaky clean. It popped above that resistance, that 550. But as expected, to be honest, the first time in which we see a stock test a major resistance like 550, regardless of how big it could be, that was pretty big, about 30,000 shares, 34,000. You still expect the false breakout the first test. So to see that pop and drop 10 cents down, look at this. I don't know if it's shown. Is he showing it? Damn, you know what? I'm going to do this right now. Let me see if I can maneuver this quick. I'm going to show this for all of us live inside the trading room, for all of us live inside the, or live on our stream here. Let me show you this live. What the hell just happened? I don't think that it's shown from the NASDAQ order book. That's the only issue on this trade. So if you have the data for it from your platform broker, then you could see it. But look at this guy. This was the order I was looking at before. I thought he was shown just on the matrix. I saw that going into the meeting. And then as it pushed up, he pulled his order. But look at what just happened. The same guy, presumptively, pops back up. The stock is still pushing up. Keep an eye on the bid. Keep an eye on, I mean, for right now, that order is roughly around 542, at 214. You just pulled it. Let's watch what happens here. I'm not going to take too much time on this. For all of us in social media, we show this live inside our trading room each and every day from market open to market close, from pre-market until the after hours, that is. So come feel free to join us. Go right down to the link on the banner below to get started. But keep an eye on the bid. Let's see if that order pops up. We'll give this another 30 seconds for right now. So he pulled. Ooh, big shake down right below to where the order was. Now let's see what happens here. He pulled the rug from us. I'm not in this trade. I'm just saying. For right now, though, we'll look to see if he could squeeze right back up, but it doesn't seem that it'll be as likely right away. Robert on YouTube, I didn't see this until now, from regarding Cinco de Mayo. He says everyone's Mexican on Cinco de Mayo. It's definitely a holiday for all, right? All right. So nonetheless, we'll see where this takes us heading into the afternoon. I mean, hopefully it bounces right back up, but just be careful. Watch not only the bid, but now at this point after the shakedown, watch the ask. You might see a fat order on the ask pop up. Maybe they're like pulling it up to that price only to go short and dump it right back down after. I mean, for such a big dump off that you had back from yesterday, to see it pop back up is not really too surprising, but it's the fact of how far will it go. It already made like a dollar move up, $1.50 move up practically. So how much more can it keep going? maybe it goes up higher. And if so, then we'll be able to call it out. Definitely going to put this on our list still at this point, PRPO. Just being mindful of a false break, a dump back down 50 cents lower. You never want to get trapped in a stock like that because you always look at that after the fact in hindsight, and you happen to see, well, maybe I could have gotten out much earlier. This squeeze back up now. Geez, this thing is all over the place now at this point. An order didn't pop back up on the bid. I'm not going to bring my level 4 program back up, but it's to say an order didn't pop back up that led to that squeeze. It still needs to break higher. Your next order on the ask looks like there's one that popped up at 570, a smaller one, but then also at 6, about a 50,000 share order on the ask sitting at $6. All right, cool. Nice little demonstration there. Again, for all of us on social media, come feel free to join us. We show this day to day, week to week. All right, so really at this point, I mean, markets are pushing up. From my little prediction from earlier in the week, the markets were dropping off quite steadily yesterday. I was going to say nicely, but not really nicely, but steadily. Ended up making a big push up this morning. I mean, bounced after the open and ran higher here heading into the afternoon. We'll just rip it from top to bottom, see if there are any stocks like PRPO running with the market or just off of company news otherwise. I also want to prep us. We have a bunch of earnings going into the after hours today. I did not bring them up from yesterday. We talked about it, though, in our trading room. We talked about Lyft, the AHT stock, Big Five Sporting. I think that was on BGFV. And then we have a bunch today lined up. So we'll be sure to talk about those just by the end of it all. Squeeze up here. Let's see, it popped over 570. We'll come back to this at the end here. Oh, actually, I skipped over the RHE stock. All right, so really quick, we'll just go from top to bottom here. The RHE trade ended up making a beautiful move after the open, but the only thing on this stock is what you would typically hear me say to be cautious of. I mean, the big spread that's on the order book here, it's fluctuating right now, but you could even say when it was running up as steadily as it was on the chart, this thing was all over the place in terms of the liquidity on the order book. So, it looks steady and easy in terms of the chart, but not an easy trade in terms of the volatility and, thinking that it could shake down. It's the type of stock that can easily spook you out of a trade, get you stopped out really quick. Of course, with the run up, I'm sure a bunch of us killed it on this trade, but what goes up does come back down. You saw it happen back from Monday of this week. It closed near the highs and gapped down going into the market open yesterday. Squeezed up higher today. I mean, it kind of reminds us of the BTX trade. Look at BTX. So just be mindful of a shakedown. For right now, for the afternoon, I'm not as interested in that RHE. I'm more interested in this NMRD stock. I mean, pretty low priced. Spread's getting a little wacky, order book relatively light, but you know what? We'll read the tape at least after this meeting. We'll take a look to see where the volume was filled from earlier. You assume the 50-cent levels and whole numbers made a nice under and over slingshot move off of 9. But even after that, as it broke out, higher at first, probably popped above 950, probably rebroke here at this point. But it's to say, where exactly did that volume get filled? We'll find out coming up pretty shortly. I like where this is right now in terms of, the trend near the highs. Not really too familiar with what this stock does. I don't know what the news is. Ended up making a bunch of pop and drops in recent history across, last year, this year. So, wouldn't shock me if history repeats itself. The only difference on this is that this stock's trading way more volume today on this run up compared to any other day in which this stock made a pop. Like you could see back from, on the daily chart from March or July, these, low volume, but big pops, drop back down. Look at today, 30 plus million shares traded on the day for this stock. What does that say? I mean, does that instantly mean that this should shoot up to the moon to go to 30? I don't think so, but it's definitely keeping me interested in this trade going forward for tomorrow, for Friday, for next week. Obviously we'll continue to follow this. So if it tanks tomorrow, then, maybe Friday. And, at some point, given just anyway for a stock that makes this big of a move, you typically expect to see it make a second little type of move even after it dumps back down. So, hopefully this breaks higher and makes the nice, pretty run up for us for the close today. The AMS stock. So we're just going to continue down here. So AMS ended up making a nice push. This one was also pretty nice. Cheap, spreads were pretty well contained. Order book, all right. Ended up spiking right up to 5, a pop and drop. So again, it goes to show when you see a stock test a major resistance level for the first time, I would not look to jump in, especially going into the late morning, the early afternoon, right from 5. If you look to buy right over 5, expecting this to just keep going, look what happened after. It's not worth holding on to as it continues to drop down lower and lower and lower. May as well just set the stop, just get out. That's it. Use the 30-second rule. My personal line is, if it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. When a big volume level gets filled, you're likely to see a pretty big result after. This ended up making a pretty big result after, just not in the direction that you would look for. All right, let's get to this mess here. This CHMA, I mean, this thing's been a nightmare, or at least it was to me earlier this morning. So after the market opened this morning, I was looking at this as a potential short. It was shortable on TradeStation. Coming off of good news, it had a pretty high float, so I wasn't right away sold on the short, expecting like the low volume, low float pump and dump play. But I saw this trend down into the open. I ended up missing the drop at first after 9:30, so that could have been a good trade. But if anything, look how fast this thing shot right back up after. Ended up rebounding essentially when it broke under and over 380. Ended up running up nice. I ended up missing a good chunk of this move up afterwards because I was taking a couple of like chunky losses here. Choppy losses, chunky, yeah. It's a nice word to say. Choppy losses there, about 3 to 5 cents a pop. So it was really confusing me. Even later on here where we're expecting continuation or possible continuation. And then afterwards, I just failed to get back in on the short side of things because for the shorts I was taking from earlier here, I was getting stopped out and it was getting choppy. I could have had this on the way down. I was upset. So I ended up just getting very frustrated and thrown off by this stock today. Maybe I'll keep it on my radar for tomorrow and Friday. I mean, hey, for as big of a move as we had today, if it remains shortable, if it doesn't break down lower today, maybe it will tomorrow, or maybe it'll pop higher tomorrow. I'm not going to let that deter me from trading this tomorrow. But, I mean, look at this thing now. It's just flat, lifeless, not much going on right now. And I guess you could have said the same thing for our good friend at PRPO, right? Look at this drop now. Oof, I'll bring up Bookmap before we finish. We'll come back to this at the end. Obviously, it's still on our list, but not looking too pretty on the way up now. Big Five Sporting Goods, BGFV, another company off of earnings from yesterday afternoon. It's up big today. No pun intended, really. I guess you could say pun intended, but not really. Ended up making a nice pop just before up to 26, pop and drop and pulled back. Just find others first. If I feel a need to put this on our list, I will. Right now, not as much. Ooh, this ATNX trade ended up making a much more volatile play compared to that CHMA. This one could have been a much better opportunity to follow both long and short if you were on TradeStation. If you're able to short it on a different platform, then that would have been a great opportunity on several attempts. On a pop and drop from 550 later on after 10 o'clock. The same thing happened going into 12 o'clock, ended up making the lower high in the same move once it rebroke below the 550. I say it all the time. If it craps out the other way and if it's shortable, why not consider that an opportunity? Now, you can't say that for every trade, but for a stock like ATNX or, again, it was choppy as could be, but even the CHMA, the similarities on these stocks are not just that they're cheap. The spreads are well contained. The order books are very liquid. So there's more volume that this stock needs to cut through in order to make a crazy pop-up or drop or pop or drop. So it makes it more manageable. You set your stop. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Hey, even though I took a few lickings on CHMA, it could have been worse. So, with the ATNX, this was just a much better opportunity on the long after the open as a short afterwards. I still like it. I mean, maybe I'll keep this on the side, come back to it at the end. The only reason I'm not as sold on it just yet is just that it's kind of slow now, trading 211 million shares total. I mean, well exhausted normally. So, maybe I'll come back to it if it ends up making a bigger move here. Triple U. It's like Triple H. Triple U. Ended up popping after the open. Popped higher here. Wacky spread, but it's still making a nice push here heading into the afternoon. So I do respect that. I'll keep this. I'll put this on our list, maybe near the bottom. I like the PRPO, even though that thing shook down. That still has a really good spread, so maybe you can get a nice dead cat bounce off at 2 on PRPO. Whereas this, it's just a lot less certain. You're just hoping that it makes the pop higher. Whereas at least on PRPO, there is just an easier to read order book there. IBIO ended up making a pop earlier today. Dumped back down, though. It's hard to borrow, so we're going to write this off for the meantime. XP, familiar name at least a bit there, just flat. BTU, nice level 1 to 2 stock. Ended up making a sneaky move up today. Pop from like 410 up towards the high of just about like 480, 486. It is shortable. Could have made it like a nice little short trade from here on the way down. Easy to say in hindsight, but presents opportunity. That's what I'm bringing up here. I mean, again, maybe keep it on the side list. Not really a whole lot to write home about, though. Not making a fast pop or drop. All right, just skimming across the gainers then here, folks. I'm going to hop over to the losers list if there's anything over there. Not a whole lot that was up with the market that I really saw. I mean, I'm a bunch of stocks that are up more than 10% here, but no other real familiar names that I saw there. We'll hop over to the losers list, though, and then I'll jump to YouTube. I see a bunch of chat there. Then I'll jump to the trading room after. COCP. Eesh. 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 Right? So I hate to say I told you so, right? I mean, this thing you knew wasn't going to make as clean of a move up going into the afternoon. It made it like a steady move, I guess, in the after hours up. But then I don't know what happened here. I'm not even going to check. I'm going to be a jerk right now. I'm not even going to check. My guess would be like direct offering news, unless if no news came out and it just tanked just as is. I would think that the news out could be direct offering of shares, but I mean, just done. Absolutely done today. And going forward, I mean, maybe at some point it'll make a little squeak up, but just like PRPO did. I mean, for as big of a move as that made just there, PRPO. Look at the move that it made after. Got to be mindful for that, right? So let's see what else we got here. Peloton, geez, they got earnings in the after hours tomorrow. I know that there is an issue. I think they had some recall. Ended up making a fantastic drop today. I mean, hey, if you ended up following this on the way down, would have paid off heavily, even if not on the equity, if you're just doing a put on it. But, hey, for the afternoon, I don't mind giving this a follow. I'll put this on our list, Peloton. And the reason I'm putting this on our list, more expensive stock, it's relatively near the lows, but it's got a good spread, good liquidity on the book. You're going to find iceberg orders, not at every 50-cent level or a whole number, but focus on those levels and see if there's any order that pops out, stands out to you, like we were trying to see before on the PRPO at least. But yeah, Peloton, we'll give this a look. Looks like it ended up breaking under and over from 82. We saw a bunch of volume getting filled off of 82 presumptively, and then squeezed back up here, and then the same thing presumptively again happened here. I say that because I don't have my book map open right now for this trade. I'm not going to open it up right now. We're kind of nearing the end of this meeting, but we'll jump back to it, though, in our live trading room. VXRT. Hey, nice short today. I ended up neglecting to follow this after the open. I had a notepad littered with a bunch of stocks this morning. VXRT was one of them. I just chose not to prep it. I said, you know what? I'm going to follow OCGN. I'm going to follow the MVIS stock, which I guess also dropped off. I didn't trade this either, but it's just to say, this morning in pre-market, I said, oh, it looks good. I'm going to choose not to trade it. This could have made a really great short. Broke down below, 820, ended up re-breaking below 8 after 10 o'clock Eastern this morning. Ended up making the beautiful drop from there. So there could have been a lot of opportunity on this VXRT short if you're able to take it. Could have been some good opportunity on the bounce back after from 750 roughly, or below. But yeah, sideless stock for right now, not really moving too well here for the afternoon. So if it pops up more on our radar and inside our trading room, then we'll work with it from there. But see what else we got. Skills, another one off of earnings from yesterday afternoon. Ooh, at the lows, shortable. Bingo. All right, cool. Sold right away. SKLZ good spread at the low. Looks like some volume got filled off of 1535. I don't have Bookmap open, but yeah, more at 1550, which you would expect. 1545. This is just all from consolidation, mind you, but 1530 being the low of the day, not really a whole lot of volume traded yet off there. Well, nearest to the low, 1535. So just to say, watch out for an order on the bid off 1535 before it ends up potentially crashing down to the low and break lower. So, it could be a good short, this SKLZ trade. Watch for time and sales. Watch to see more red coming in on the tape below those prices. All right, excellent. All right, cool. So, folks, I'll tell you, I think that I'm just about finished up. We'll take a look on YouTube. We'll take a look in the trading room. Take a look on Benzinga Pro, and then we'll finish up. NMRD from our friend Mitch Connor. Mitch, you're late. No, I'm just teasing. No, this is breaking higher as we speak. It's already on our list. We talked about this just as we started this meeting. Started from top to bottom, but ended up making a beautiful push up. Right, well, where we left off with this trade was that it ended up kind of holding underneath 10. It ended up breaking above 10 and snapped right back down. That pop and drop, and then on the re-break, it was pretty shaky afterwards, but pushed up a little bit higher. From Dan F, we got X. Lovely X, US Steel. You know what? It's been volatile enough. Why not? I mean, I would say the same about VXRT if VXRT looked like X. So, it's at the lows. It's not down more than like that 10% or whatever I ask, but hey, for what goes up comes back down. If you're looking for support, go back to the last 2 trading days. That's it. Nice move here. Good call. Yeah. I like the sex. And then from RJF, he's saying the Veru pop, but it's starting to drop. A very rangy move here from the pre-market pop early, and then it dumped all the way back down. That was not a shocker. Fausto talked about it in the morning meeting. He talked about the iceberg order after 8:30 Eastern time. That was squeezing it down lower and lower after the market opened. Obviously, you could see what happened after. So is it to say this stock can't go up to 10? No, I think that there actually is a chance in which that it can. I want to check the float. Normally, the stock doesn't trade this much volume on a day-to-day basis. So, the last 50 days, it's been trading about 1.5 million shares a day. I don't think that's factoring in like these days here. So that's actually a good thing. So that's to say, it's just definitely trading a lot more than what it's usually used to. Let me see if I could do this here. Got a little time to kill. It's my Jeopardy theme music. Vero. 250. There we go. All right, cool. What's the float? 54.52 million share float. Trading 25 million shares. So, yeah, very heavily traded compared to what it normally trades. But compared to its float, we've seen stocks trade well more than, what is that, like just half? So considering that it's even shortable, and if it doesn't move up and we could short it on the way down, why not this stock, VERU? And hopefully it does make the dead cat bounce, the squeeze up to 10. But if it doesn't, well, it's already dropping back down. So again, so long as it's shortable, there could be a good opportunity there. Ken, I'm a big Jeopardy fan. I'm not like a huge Jeopardy fan, but I used to watch it. I still watch it. Ken asking Mara here inside our trading room. All right, so I guess that forces me, not forces me, but we'll bring it up. Get the Bitcoin chart up rather quick. Looks like we ended up seeing a big pop across the board today. We ended up seeing Bitcoin make a nice squeeze. We ended up seeing, all of the other altcoins like Litecoin, Chainlink, my Cardano, which is my biggest bag, ADA, make a squeeze up. We ended up seeing Bitcoin, though, make a nice push, though. Again, this is the hourly chart. So, this is more overnight into the pre-market hours this morning and really into the mid-morning. We saw this, make a nice pop back up. We're not out of the doghouse just yet on Bitcoin, but I bring this up solely just to explain Mara's move here. ended up making a nice squeeze at the same time as we saw Bitcoin pop. And, well, Bitcoin's pulling back after that peak. So Mara's going right back down with it. Markets are at the highs today, but Mara doesn't really seem to care too much about that. It is tradable. Don't get me wrong. I mean, X is more closer to its lows, so I guess that's the reason why I'm more favoring X than Mara. But if you do well on Mara on a day-to-day basis, then I'm sure that you'll be following this regardless, right? OCGN. VXRT is pulling down pretty nicely there again. The reason I bring it up is because it looks so good. I just don't want it to tease me. It ended up completely pulling back, not only from this morning, but from yesterday's highs, completely dumped off. Made the same exact move today, sans the pop, but ended up dropping after that pop. And it's at the lows now. So it's like kind of making the same move as I should say as X, at the lows there. Just in that sense, X ended up dropping right at the market open and now testing the same price, whereas the OCGN was more from the mid-afternoon, even after 1 o'clock. All right, I'll put this on our list. I'm a fan. All right, so I guess that leaves the ATNX on our side list. I do have Benzinga Pro up. Otherwise, I'll check to see if there's anything else that I missed. Yeah, this ain't really doing too much. Let me just move around here quick. ODT up 6+%. Spreads are actually good. Liquidity's really good. And the stock has a big gap to fill on the daily chart. I thought I remembered this stock. So even if this stock doesn't make like the big lavish, squeeze up that you would want to have today, I mean, keep it in mind. So I'll slip this on our list, it's making a great move. It's where we would want it to have it be at, but it's almost Friday and so forth. Anytime you see a stock get crushed 85%, you're not going to jump in right away and guarantee it's going to squeeze up because, clearly this thing has taken its sweet time to do that. But you know what? On a day like today where it's trending up higher into this afternoon here, I'll give it a look. And if it doesn't move, then who cares? And if it ends up popping, then we'll try and take advantage of it. And like I said, if not today, then hopefully tomorrow or hopefully Friday, we'll keep it in mind. Mike says TIRX is an example of that. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. It's not the gap as you could see as much just the big bar on the chart there, but ended up making the squeeze up, like last week this time? Popped up, dumped back down, but ended up making that move. Took a few days, but we got it. All right. I actually got one more before I close off just because it's popping up on my Benzinga Pro right now, maybe two. But how about FCEL low of the day? Not down more than like 5%, but low of the day, shortable. Maybe I go to its sister stock here, maybe faster move plug. This is definitely making the same type of move as US Steel is. And outside of that, I would have this one's not that great. TIGR, familiar name. Looks like a lot of stocks falling off here. Palantir now, I'm getting the signal from Benzinga on them. Low of the day on PLTR. I do like Plug. You know what? I'm going to put Plug on our list as a short opportunity going into the close. So I don't want to build up too big of a list here, folks. I think in total so far we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm pretty content. I like what we got here. And if there's any more, then we'll call them out. If the market ends up taking a bit of a dive and everything even accelerates further from that point on the way down, then we'll see what we could try and short. All right, folks, and go from there. For all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, once again, as always, I appreciate you joining us each and every day, myself in particular for the afternoons. Keep in mind, I mentioned this yesterday for all of us on social media. I'll keep mentioning this throughout the week, but coming up next Tuesday, or now I could say this upcoming Tuesday, That would be on the 11th. Coming up May 11th, we'll be doing, as we normally do inside our trading room, which we will still do inside Cyber Group, but we'll kind of simulcast on YouTube and Facebook Live. We typically do that maybe 2 or 3 times across the calendar year, giving you a quick taste of what it's like to be inside our trading room, giving you access to a premium workshop that we conduct weekly. So keep that in mind. We'll keep making the announcements for that. Just be on YouTube for that. That'll be coming up on May 11th, this upcoming Tuesday. All right. All right, so, aside from that, folks, I'm going to post the picks coming up. I'll be back on the mic for all of us live inside Cyber Group coming up pretty shortly. All right, talk to you all soon.